Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today what I'm gonna do is to try to reproduce some of these images in watercolors. So those are marker sketches that I've done a few days, weeks ago, based on pictures I've taken during the autumn here. And I have already tried to reproduce it in watercolors here. And I want to try this again on my 100% watercolor paper to see if I can somehow improve the image I've done. So I have all my references around me like so, and I'm gonna be painting here. So I'm gonna be using today my White Nights watercolors, those. And I'm gonna start by wetting the paper. So I'm gonna start with the sky, and I'm gonna put about 1/3 for the sky up above here. And the transition with the horizon, I want to have kind of blurred trees in the background. So I'm gonna add this mixture here to create an idea of trees in the background like so, and have them mix. And this one will go on the side like so, and will also be on the background here, and this one will be on the background here. And I want to work a little bit more on my trail, like how the perspective of my trail. So I want to have it pretty thin here, kind of turning this way, and here making it go larger and larger as I go. I'm gonna use a more earthy tone now for the trail. So one of the things I wanted to work on this new version of the painting is really how the trail is going, because it's pretty hard to depict this trail going to the side like so. I'm having kind of a hard time creating the right perspective here. And then I'm going to use a very yellowish, so it's my pale ochre, for the trail itself, and trying to keep the direction of the trail and to blur a bit the edges with where the trail is going up. So the tricky thing is to create the shadows on the parts, on each part of the trail where the direction changes. So here it goes upwards like that. So you really have to create a soft transition, which is not that easy to create. So those are the basic colors here. I'm gonna start working with some darker tones here. So I'm using a mix of my yellow ochre and some of my brown to start creating a little bit more variety for the trail here, keeping in mind that I want the back part to have some details but less than the foreground, which I did not do that well on here. I have to keep that in mind also, to have my darkest shadows here. So now I'm gonna add some of the details of trees everywhere that I need some, and I want them to still be very soft here, and I want the right part to be more in the shadows than the left part, so I'm adding a little bit more blue to this part to show that there is more shadow. but still I'm gonna add a little bit of light too, adding some of this yellow to the very top of the trees to show the light going through. And on the left part I'm gonna go a little bit lighter and add a little bit more of yellows and oranges. And same for the trail. So for the left part of the trail, I'm adding more of on the upper part, I'm adding more of yellows and red tones. Whereas on the right side, on the left side of the trail, sorry, I'm adding more of the blues. Because I think that's also what I missed in the last attempt that I did, is to think a bit more about my light. So that's what I'm trying to do on this one. Because of course I want very dark shadows, but I need also some warm tones to contrast with these dark shadows. And now I'm gonna add the silhouette of the trees. So I'm starting with the dark brown. I have one tree that will be here, more or less. I don't know if you can hear, but the wind is blowing so strongly these days. It's crazy. And then have another one more in the foreground, like here-ish, that will frame this side here. And of course I have to add shadows corresponding to these trees. I have to go back on top when it's all dry, but for now I'm adding the first layers of that. And I'm gonna add just one tree on the other side, but with a little bit less blue on the color of the trunk, and having it a little bit more red. So it will be somewhere like here. Okay, something like that. So it's not looking too bad right now. I'm gonna add a little bit more things here just to give shape to all of these in the background. And I'm gonna add more branches also coming from behind these trees. So now I'm gonna work a little bit more on the shadows. For that, I'm gonna use kind of a bluish tone and add some more on the bottom of this little hill here. Cool, all of this will be very much in the shadows compared to the other part. And on the left side of my trail, of course. This is not entirely dry yet, so I'm gonna wait a little bit more for this to dry before I go over with some darker tones to work on the shadows more. And the thing is, I'm starting again to lose a bit the shape of my trail, because it's very hard to really keep the shape of the trail. So maybe I'm gonna use some brown to go over the trail again to help me see my trail more. I think it kind of worked. And it's very hard because of course the trail has a lot of complexity too, so I don't want to lose that. by putting just one color on top. So now let's go back to these trees, working on their definition a bit more. I'm creating some of these long shadows too, and adding some shadowy things to the ground here and there, just again to add a bit more depth to this piece, and trying to enhance the contrast more on the foreground than in the background, but still keeping it coherent in the background too. So this is looking pretty good. I'm gonna enhance a bit the contrast in the foreground now. So for instance here. I'm using more of the dry brush effects now that the underneath layer are set, just to add more variety and texture to the very foreground. And I think the shadow in the foreground can be even darker too. So here I'm using almost a dry brush with no water, and I'm just darkening strongly some parts of the painting. It can be very hard to achieve the right contrast with watercolor paintings because it's hard to go dark enough, but it really helps the overall piece to go quite dark. And I think what I'm gonna add now are a little bit of things coming from the ground here and growing around this tree. Okay, so I think I'm gonna call this done for now. I'm not sure if I want to work again on this one or if I want to do other attempts later on. I'm just gonna add the people walking because there are two characters in the background just walking down the trail. So I'm gonna add those, and I'm very bad at drawing characters, so I'm gonna try my best, not messing it all up. Okay, so let me show you how it looks. So this is the final result with the details of the texture and the trees and the characters here. And this is how it looks like. I think it's a little bit better than the first one. Let me show them side by side. So this one was the first one, and this one is this one here is the more finished one, and this one was the first attempt. I think you can see that this one I was trying much more with the colors and not doing exactly what I wanted to do. This one, it looks a little bit more coherent and less like strips of colors and a little bit more like a smooth trail, I think. I still need to work on the perspective because I'm not sure if the perspective really enhanced. I hope it did a little bit. But yeah, this is what it looks like. And I really enjoyed trying different times the same piece. So I think I'm gonna continue doing that in the in my coming videos, maybe retrying some old pieces and stuff like that. And it's interesting to see how you tackle a subject that you've already tackled. Honestly, I don't know which one is my favorite. I think I kind of like them both. They both have their strengths and their weaknesses. And yeah, it was just really interesting to do that, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. In the meantime, see you in my next video, and bye!